Midlife can be a season of big changes. Our hormones, our mental health, even a sense of who we are. But for some women, they use alcohol as a way to cope with those changes. But what happens when a glass of wine at night, instead of a treat, becomes a trap? Today, I want to share with you how women in midlife, just like you and me, can begin your journey of becoming alcohol free and reclaiming your health, your peace, and your joy. Number one is acknowledge that you may have a problem. I know when I started to think about quitting alcohol, there was a number of things that came up. It wasn't one certain thing, or I didn't hit rock bottom at one certain point. There was a number of things that happened as far as my mental health, my depression, my anxiety got to a point where it was I was on medication. It wasn't working, and my emotions were just I couldn't even deal with them anymore. My mom had become sick, and she had passed away, and I started drinking heavier and more than ever just to try to get through that and deal with those emotions, that devastating feeling of grief when I lost her. And I came to realize that alcohol does not numb grief. It really made it a lot worse. And I knew that if I wanted to deal with those feelings of grief, I had to quit drinking. I could not numb those. And so the hardest time of my life, dealing with the death of my mother, I quit drinking. And I got through it, and I cried and I cried and just let out all those emotions. Really, for the first time in a long time, it was grief, it was other emotions I had felt over the years that I had to deal with because I was numbing. I remember I had been drinking when my son's dad and I had split up, and I was numbing those feelings. And to my surprise, when I quit drinking, those emotions were coming back, and I had to, I was crying and dealing with emotions of when we broke up, even though that time of my life was long past and I was over it. At least, I was over it, but I still had feelings that I had to deal with and emotions, and, cried a bit because of that situation. So you're gonna find that if you do go through that journey, you're gonna be dealing with a lot of emotions. But that was a time when I really started to acknowledge that I had a problem and I really needed to stop. Start to journal why you may think you have a problem and why you may want to stop drinking. Just write all those feelings down. Buy yourself, if you haven't journaled up until now, buy yourself a new journal, go on Amazon or wherever, and just get up in the morning and start writing your feelings down and why you may want to quit drinking. I know for me, I would journal and just get a lot of those emotions out and realize that it was not helping my health. I had been to the doctor, and my liver enzymes came back and they were elevated, and I knew at that point it was really starting to affect my health. I knew and was told by my doctor that it would get worse. I would likely get cirrhosis if I kept drinking. So I knew in other ways, in addition to my mental health, the effects of the alcohol on other areas of my body were being affected, as well as my hormones. I was going through menopause, and my night sweats and those hot flashes were made so much worse because of the alcohol. So, just write your feelings down. You'll find that it really helps a lot. Number three, remove temptation. I know for me, I could not have alcohol around if I wanted to quit drinking. I could not have it in the house, so I had to remove it and get it out of the house completely, and out of sight, out of mind. I could not be around it at all. So you've got to remove that temptation. if you go out with friends on a regular basis and go to a bar and drink like that, you're going to have to change that. You're going to have to remove different things from your life. If the majority of your friends that you hang out with are drinkers and you are around that a lot, you may have to change it. It's just, either permanently or temporarily. You've just got to, you've got to remove that temptation from your life. Number 4 is create a new routine. I found that, especially in the evenings when that was my time to drink, I would put my son to bed and sit down on the couch with my alcohol and would tell myself I deserved it. It was a stressful day. And even when he was with his dad, we would share custody. And that would be my time to, numb those feelings of sadness that because he was away from me. So I had to change that all up. I started to go to meetings and things like that. I would be away from the house. I would not be able to sit on the couch, the same place that I did every night when I would drink. I would go to bed at 6 or 7 o'clock at night just to remove that temptation. I had to change my habit. I had to actually change the way I drove home from work because I would go past a liquor store and that would really, that habit of driving by there, it would, trigger me to want to stop in the liquor store. I had a grocery store that I went to, and right beside that grocery store was the liquor store. I had to change that and go to a different grocery store that did not have a liquor store beside it because it was just, you really have to find that you've got to change things up if you want to stay sober. Number 5 is find support. Go online and Google women's support groups or help with quitting alcohol. You'll find that there are a lot of groups, a lot of meetings close to where you're at, even online especially. I know my first interaction was with an online group, and there were women on there that would go on and chat. They would have meetings and things online. And I have to tell you that I was relieved to find that there are women out there with the same problem. I thought I was the only one. I felt so alone and thought I was the only one with this problem. I was so embarrassed about it and the fact that I was drinking the way that I was. But what a relief when I found others like me, and you have that support of women who are going through it or have been through it. I found a local group of women that I was able to meet with weekly on a Friday night. And that was one of the first meetings that I went to. I actually called the woman. Her name was listed online, and I called her to talk to her and found that these women were so kind and so supportive. And when I went to the meeting, they were, you can just sit back and just listen to what they have to say. But once you start talking about it and, letting out those feelings and talking about things, I did that, and all that I did was cry initially. I would cry at every meeting, and I would cry when I would try to talk. And, mostly because it was a relief that I found a group of women that were so supportive. And number 6, treat it as healing and not punishment. I found that when I did quit drinking, my body started to heal itself. My liver was healing, and my liver has since healed. I was feeling so much better, and I was worried that quitting drinking would be something that would be really difficult. How would I have a good time when I'm out socializing, and how would I go out and not have alcohol? Because I used alcohol as part of helping me come out of my shell. I was always so shy and quiet, and in order for me to be the person I thought I should be, I would drink, and it would bring me out and help me talk to other people in a social situation. But I learned that I was able to talk to people in a social situation without the alcohol. I remember when I went on my first women's retreat, sobriety retreat, and I was around a lot of people, which was uncomfortable for me. I did like the smaller meetings, but I was looking forward to the retreat as there were speakers and things like that. And I remember being in a room with a woman, my friend, and we were in our room in the evening after the speakers and everything and after dinner, and we were talking about something that made us laugh. And I remember I started laughing and felt this incredible joy for the first time in a long time. And what I realized and what I learned is that alcohol not only numbs the bad feelings, but it also numbs the good feelings. So if you are a woman in midlife and you are wanting to quit drinking alcohol, let me know if you have any questions. Just put them in the comments, and please know that you are not broken and you are not alone. So go ahead and click on the link above and watch my prior video that talks about alcohol and how I learned the hard way that it was hurting my health. And I will see you next time.